Welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. I'm your host, Dr. Kojo, and I'm late once again, but we're here to have a great show tonight. I'm excited to talk about this topic. We're talking about mental health and dating, specifically the first part of a new relationship. So I'm excited to get to this topic, and I can't wait to get into it. And as you know, every show we start off by featuring you all and seeing where you all are from. So let me know where y'all checking in from. Larissa from Birmingham, what's up? Fernandina Beach in the house. Judy, Pennsylvania in the house. Carson City, Nevada. Tamaria, what's going on? Arizona, Maine, Raleigh, North Carolina. Gave you some business. I like that name. Gilbert, Arizona. CJ, what's going on? I'm so excited for this topic. I am too. San Jose, Florida, Calgary, Alberta, Florida, Omaha, Nebraska, Texas, Cleveland, Pismo Beach, Vancouver, Southern Illinois, Kansas. Is anybody from out of the country? I don't know. I will open up again because it was later. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Charlotte, Bryant, Indianapolis, Massachusetts. A lot of people from Canada. What's up, my Canadians? How y'all doing? Charlottesville, Virginia. Okay, some Virginia people in here. It's going fast. North Carolina, Buffalo, New York, San Antonio, Houston. Oh, I love Houston. Houston's a great city. You know that they had two airports in Houston. I got lost when I was in Houston, but that's besides the point. Bernard, Massachusetts, Canadian. Jamie, I appreciate you. I love my Canadians. I really, really have a lot of love for my Canadians. Staying with ADHD is rough. Canada, Memphis, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. Let me not admit to you all that I almost forgot that. New York, Wisconsin. Okay, awesome. We have a great topic tonight. It's something that it's been on my mind for a while, and this is going to be a little bit more interactive. But I'm still going to start off with my rant in the beginning. So I've never seen anybody talk about this. That's why I was like, I think we need to talk about it, right? So mental health and dating. I've had this concept going back to when I was, going live on TikTok, and, we would play around, and, they will call me the love doctor, and, people will be in the comments talking about, oh, I'm from here, I'm from there. And, sometimes people will become friends in the comments, and maybe, even have like a relationship or a romantic interest evolve from the comment section. And one thing I learned is that while I was going live in my early days on TikTok, I realized that nobody talks about mental health when it comes to dating, like in the very beginning, right? Jamie, this is important. This is important. Got to get loose. Got to get loose for this one. This one's a very important topic. Crack my neck. Yeah, we got to get ready for this. And I'm talking about in the beginning of a relationship, right? Or like the early stages. Because if you're watching this and you've been married for 5, 10, 15 years, like, you know your person for the most part. You don't know everything about them, but you know them for the most part, right? So y'all, at this point, y'all are just together. You're riding it out. You love each other. It is what it is. And that's great. But I'm talking about the new relationships, like when people first get together with somebody, right? And as a professional, I look at the numbers, right? My people from Twitch, what's going on? How y'all doing? Megan says, I'm starting over, so lay it on me. Megan, we're feeling late on you. Megan, this is for you, Megan, and we're late on you. Put it all out there. So what we know is that a lot of, I'll talk about Americans, right? Even though people are watching from Canada and all over the country, all over the world, a lot of people have mental health conditions, right? So out of all the conditions, right? If you think of anxiety, we know anxiety is one of the more common conditions, right? So we know people have anxiety. We know people have depression. We know people have, ADHD, PTSD, trauma, borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, OCD, OCPD, complex PTSD. So we know people have all these things, right? And then you have the other conditions like maybe schizophrenia, which affects 1% of the population, which is not as common, right? But still, people have schizophrenia, they live with it, and they do really well. So my thing is, after working as a professional for so long and knowing that a lot of people have mental health conditions, right? And we're all human, we all struggle with something, right? It got me thinking that when I'm talking about meeting somebody, right? You don't lead with, oh, my name is Heather, Maria, Chell, Bonita, blah blah blah, and I have this. You lead with, hey, my name is Kojo. I live in LA. I like to post online and stuff like that, and I talk about like mental health, and I do skits and dances, and like you lead with general information about yourself. You don't say, oh, I have, like, I wouldn't start off a conversation like meeting a lady saying, oh, hey, my name is Kojo. I like to watch football and I have ADHD. And now some people might do that, right? But it's not something that's like common in our society. People don't lead with their diagnosis first, So what I want to figure out tonight is, at what point do you tell somebody like what's going on, right? I don't think you should do it too early, but I don't think you should do it too late. So I'm gonna paint the picture for y'all. I don't use dating apps or anything like that. But assuming I was in a dating app, I like what Billy says. Just tell the truth. If they are worth it, they'll be there. I agree, Billy, but I don't know if we should just spring it on them. I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer, so that's why it's a good debate. But I'm gonna paint the scenario for y'all, and then we're gonna hop right into it because I want to get the feedback. So I go on a dating app, right? And I just moved to LA, and I put out my profile. I'm all right. This is what I do. Blah blah. Woo. And then you meet, lady. Y'all go out to Craig's or Applebee's. I don't know. Whatever. You go out to somewhere and you're eating and then you're talking. First date goes well. So you decide to get up again and you go to the park or whatever, and then maybe she comes over, she meets your dog, blah, blah, and then, you hang out and then you're like, okay, we're going to see each other again. At what point do you tell her, hey, I don't like it when you text me in the middle of the day because I get sidetracked because I have ADHD. And if you text me, you're going to throw off my train of thought. Or if you do this, or if you smack in front of me, you're going to make my mind go crazy because I hate those sounds and I can't focus. Like at some point, when do you tell somebody like, all right, this is who I am. I need you to roll with it. Like, I don't know. Like, this is the first date, the second date, the third date, the third month, the fourth month, the fifth month. I'm not too sure. And, like I said, normally when we start the show, I start off with a rant, but I want to actually hop straight into the comments and get you all's feedback here. I want to see. Someone says, never tell a woman not to text you. So, Maria, here's my thing. I disagree with you only because the way I work, I'm so busy throughout the day. So if I'm dating somebody, not that I'll say, don't text me, but I'll say, hey, between these hours, like I'm with my assistant, or between these hours, I'm making videos, or these hours I'm, seeing patients. So maybe text me later on or something, or let's talk on the phone tonight for like 45 minutes. So I think it's about communication, but that's like an advanced conversation. Brett says he would love to know immediately. And I believe knowing Brett, I believe that knowing you would love to know immediately. But the issue could come, let's say, Brett, you met this awesome lady, right? But maybe the person that she had dated before, like, had played her and put her through it. Then she approaches the next relationship with that trauma on top of whatever she was going through. And then she's like, you know what, I'm going to wait a half a year to tell this guy that I have depression or something like that. Now, you being the guy that you are, you're like, I would have liked to have known that. But maybe her past may have, played a factor into that. Kathleen says, I did too early in case it was a deal breaker, but it was a mistake. Yeah, it's so sometimes too early. You might want to wait. I think, especially when you have kids involved. I don't have any kids, and I'm not too sure how that would work. But I think you would want to wait before you bring somebody in and like they're meeting your kids and things like that. But I'm no expert. Sarah says, my dad told me to never tell anyone I had anxiety when we were dating. I was always very open about my struggles. Ironically, I knew my husband was for real when we were a month into dating, and I was having a panic attack over my decision of whether or not to apply for a scholarship to grad school. He asked if he should come over. I said, no, this isn't your problem. He showed up 45 minutes later at my door. It was a 40-minute drive. So the first love of the show goes to Sarah Kennedy, or more specifically, your husband. I like hearing that because sometimes, I go online and, all I hear is guys ain't shit, this, that, and third. But it's a lot of guys stepping up, So shout out to Sarah's husband. Gets the love of the show. Adrian, you finally caught live. Let me see some more feedback. When is the ideal time to open up? If you think you should open up to somebody, it might be after a couple of dates, but men don't even want to take you on dates now, and they go straight to trying to have sex with you. So how do you open up to them? Ooh, a good question. I don't want to generalize. I don't think all men go straight to wanting to have sex. Now, it might be a good deal, a great deal of men, but I don't think that's all men, right? Some men will at least take you out, all right? But I'm assuming that, and I'm assuming for you, when you're looking for somebody, you're not looking to hook up right away, right? So you're looking for a meaningful relationship. So in that case, anybody who wants to hook up right away, that's not what you want. So not to say that they're wrong, but it's not what you want. So you just have to go your way and then let them go their way. And then the people that want what you want, you pick between those people. Like how do you talk to them? Nadia says, I was upfront with my anxiety and depression, and then I got a new diagnosis and everything changed. Wow. Wow. My ADD ruined so many opportunities I've had. Maybe I shouldn't be so upfront. Now, I think you might want to see, it depends. Like Sarah said that her husband like got it from the jump, but not everybody gets it. So Sarah, may have been fortunate, but everybody might not. Realistically, like I'm an optimistic person, but everybody's not gonna have that, opportunity like Sarah did. I usually tell them when I catch myself info dumping or zoning or any other action that's related to my ADHD. Okay, Matthew, I like that. And also, sometimes, well, at least I can speak from having ADHD. Like I remember, and actually, I wrote about this in my book. Yeah, I wrote about this in my book when I was in grad school before I got diagnosed with ADHD. Like I knew I had it since I was like maybe 12, right? I just, my parents never had insurance, so we never, went to go see a doctor or like a professional or something like that. But I remember being in grad school, and the girl I was dating at the time, she mentioned it. She's like, "You must have ADD or something," and I'm like, "I know that, but I just didn't like know it. Like I didn't have like a real like doctor confirm it to me." Can you do the dance at the end? Hey, Jeremy's here for the dance. What's up, Jeremy? The right people will get it. That's what Jamie says. If you're mentally ill, you don't want to date someone who isn't understanding or caring or supportive. So Jamie also gets the love of the show. I think that the best time to put up the boundaries is in the beginning. So let's say you take Jamie for example. Let's say you have anxiety, severe anxiety. I'm just example, please. And you're dating somebody who thinks anxiety is not real. Like they think that it's a weakness. I would probably cut that off in the beginning. I mean, give them some chances to explain it to them a little bit. But how are you going to spend a whole lifetime explaining something to somebody? Like that's how you get tired. Like home should be a place where you have that understanding. Like you should explain that to people who are like strangers, but you should have to explain that to like your person. You know. Jessica, I told my husband about my trauma and PTSD about a month into the relationship. He helped me get help for it, work through it, and we are together now for 7 years. So once again, another love of the show goes to Jessica's husband. And the thing I like about that is, so I like Jessica's comment because her husband didn't try and become her psychiatrist or therapist. He helped you get help for it, work through it, and y'all are now together for 7 years. I think that's that's important because sometimes people will be like, all right, this person has trauma, PTSD. They're like, oh, now I have to I have to be that therapist, and they're gonna complain to me, and I have to no, like that's a real issue. Like trauma is it's actually no joke. So that's something that you, provided that you're able to see like a professional in your area, you would want to see somebody for that. So I like the fact that he helped you get help for it. He stayed by you through it. So definitely a love of the show um, for him. Most people aren't looking for anything meaningful these days. Dating is hard in this day and age. I think that is true to some extent, but I think that I don't know. I've had this thought, but I think that sometimes people have a hard time telling other people like the truth. So sometimes you vibe with somebody in the beginning, and then after a while you're not vibing with them, and it's hard to be upfront. I don't think we were taught enough communication skills in grade school. But sometimes you have to tell somebody, "Hey, I don't think this is going somewhere," right? Instead of stringing along that person for 7 years, you can save a lot of grief and heartache and pain and money. You know, Melissa says, "My husband calls me deer in the headlights. I don't like it." So if you don't like it, I mean, that's something that I would bring up to your husband. And like, if I don't know what you're struggling with specifically, but sometimes take ADHD for example, right? If I'm forgetful, right? If I'm forgetful and I'm okay with being forgetful, not to say that like I want to be forgetful for my whole life, but like I've come to terms with it and I'm working on it, but it doesn't affect me. Like it doesn't hurt me. At that point, if I'm married and my wife is like, "Oh, there you go, being forgetful or whatever," like we'll laugh about it, right? But if I haven't come to terms with it and it still hurts, then I think that you're trying to make fun of me, and at that point, it's an argument. Someone said set the bar higher. The my sister had an Instagram post yesterday. The post said, "If you're a man between 23 and 27, and you have no kids and no well, yeah, no kids, no baby mama, same thing, then you're a rare breed." And she reposted that like little image, and then she put underneath it, she said, "The bar is in hell." I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was funny. Phil says, "I wanted to say thanks. I knew I was ADHD." Phil, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you, Mr. Hamilton. Um, um, Amanda saying, "My husband is this way. He doesn't understand mental illnesses." So I think there's some people who like, and see, we've never had this conversation before until like maybe like the past couple of years, and this is such a brand new conversation that I'm even trying to figure out what direction we're going in. But I believe some people can date for 2 years, right? And you marry, and then like a year into the marriage, like you realize that the other person has depression or anxiety or something, um, and then you have to adjust to that, right? And you love that person, but you didn't sign up, like you didn't know that they had severe PTSD, right? But I mean, you said for better or for worse, you signed up to be with them, but you didn't know that all those things were happening. So once again, I mean, if you're already in the marriage and you're trying to make it work it out, you want to, maybe get professional help and maybe help him see that he doesn't understand it. Because if he has awareness that there's something that's going on here that I don't understand, that's progress as opposed to being like, I don't care. The apathy is what's going to hurt. Joey says, "How do you handle dealing with rejection sensitive dysphoria? What are phrases to practice to get yourself out of situations you can deal privately without saying off?" All right, so I can actually tie this back into the theme of mental health and dating. I think the best way to deal with it is to understand that rejections don't represent who you are, and that's something that actually in all relationships, personal relationships, intimate, business, work, like in any type of relationship, when you feel that hurt, you can let that, like you feel it like it's an attack on your character, and that can further complicate any type of interpersonal relationship. So the best way that I like to deal with RSD is by telling myself, "Hey, this doesn't represent who I am." But that's something that I struggle with. I did struggle with that back a couple years ago in relationships, and like since then, since like 2017, like I more so laugh at things, but I do take things kind of personally in the social media world. Like if I'm working with this company or that company, and I get rejected here, I get rejected there. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take my short film somewhere else. I'm gonna pitch it to Hulu, to Netflix, or whatever. So sometimes that does, get the best of me a little bit. Jesse Lee, shout out, shout out, shout out. How are you doing? Let me see. Thank you for your information. My husband and I are both ADHD, but extremely successful business owners and athletes. Gina, you get love of the show. I love that, and I almost feel like, especially with ADHD, if you and your partner both have it, I feel like that can make you more empathetic for the person, right? And when I thought of this topic, like mental health and dating. And Katie, you say you're late. You can always watch the playback. You can get the first few minutes of this show. But when you talk about mental health and dating, what I realized, and I learned this from my patients back at the state hospital when I was working, is that within the mental health world, whether y'all know it or not, there are levels to the mental health conditions, to mental illnesses. There's levels, like I had patients with anxiety and depression, tell me, like they'll tap me on the shoulder, hey, can I be discharged from the hospital soon? Like, like I'm not crazy, like I'm just like, like anxious or whatever, but I'm not like that person. And then they'll point to somebody in the corner who's like hearing voices. So what I learned that what I learned in the hospital is that within the mental health stratosphere, there's like different tiers to the mental illnesses. So there's a stigma within the stigma. So you have people with anxiety or depression, or even ADHD, because ADHD is, in my opinion, the most treatable mental health condition. So you have somebody with ADHD, right? And if let's say you meet somebody on Bumble, right, and then you're vibing with them, and they tell you that they have ADHD, your reaction will be like, oh well, they'll show up to dates late, and yeah, well, I think that person is pretty, right? Or so the other person say, oh, I think that person's handsome. I guess I can make it work. I guess ADHD is not a deal breaker. But when you hear something like schizophrenia, because people aren't educated about schizophrenia, and they think that people who have thought disorders are aggressive. You meet somebody on a dating app, and they tell you on the second date, right? Let's say second date. Oh, I have schizophrenia, but it's well controlled, and I take my long acting injectable once a month, and I go to the doctor, the psychiatrist every 3 months, and I play sports here and there. The average American, in my opinion, will hear the word schizophrenia and be like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm scared. This person's gonna hurt me." Like that's what's portrayed in the media. That's why I'm in Hollywood. Now I got to get to that. I'm here. I'm here on a mission. But there's a stigma within the stigma, and that's also where I want to talk about. I really want to talk about that because when you and I remember having this conversation with a good buddy of mine. He met this really pretty chick, and I think they dated for a little bit, but he met this really beautiful girl, and he went to the situation like, oh, she's too good to be true, blah blah blah, and then he came back and told me that she actually has schizophrenia, and I was like, so how do you feel about it? And he was like, it's not like he said he didn't feel any which way. Like he said, like I didn't even know like she was taking her meds, and I couldn't even tell. Like people hear schizophrenia and they expect you to like hear voices and like see things. You might just have like some grandiose delusions, or not just some, but you might have it might manifest differently. You might have catatonic behavior, where you kind of like act like rigid, or like you're slow to respond. I'm trying to figure out a way to describe catatonia in a way that anybody would understand it. But it's not as scary as people make it out to be. But when you approach somebody and they have, a mental health condition, and it wasn't what you thought they would have, that's a different conversation that we got to talk about. Leisha, I appreciate you. And yes, schizoaffective, schizoaffective is right within that, network of thought disorders. So schizoaffective, schizophrenia. When somebody has those conditions, I think that there's a bit of a heavier stigma. Like there's a heavier stigma, as opposed to like ADHD, right? And I'm not saying that ADHD is not an issue. Obviously, like we speak about it at length on this channel, but there's something to be said about that stigma within the stigma. Like how many stigmas are we gonna have? How many stigmas are we gonna have? Like it's something that we have to really talk about, and I think it'll help to have celebrities and athletes and influential people come forward and say, "Oh, I'm struggling with this or that." Mariah Carey, Jim Carrey, they talk about having bipolar disorder, things like that. But I have never really seen somebody advocate for schizophrenia on a big scale. I mean, if y'all know somebody, like, let me know. But that's something I think about from time to time. Tess, how would you deal with the issues in the relationship after the depressive episode? My boyfriend was so supportive during my depression a year ago, but now it's coming back as an issue, and he's basically blaming our issues on my depression, saying it changed things. All right, so, So if he says the depression changed things, it probably did, to be honest. It probably did change things. You probably didn't have as much energy. Maybe you isolated yourself. So yeah, it's gonna change things. But it doesn't mean that you're not worthy of love, attention, respect. Like you're going through it. And people always say people always say relationships are 50-50, or now I hear people say they're 100-100. I don't believe that. Sometimes it's 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, 95-5. Like I really believe sometimes it's one person carrying all the way. Now I'm not saying that's how it should be all the time. That's not sustainable. But if you're in a rough patch, right? Maybe he's carrying 90% of the load, and at some point, life is so cyclical. It gets to the point where, you're back, like you feel good. You're back doing your thing, and then he's going through like stress or like his day-to-day issues, and then you can pull more of the weight. But sometimes it's not even him being angry at you, maybe just being upset at the situation. Sometimes people are just so stressed that it manifests in like you saying things that you don't mean. So if he was helpful a year ago, I think maybe getting professional help and again, like a third party in there can be helpful, because I don't think he's a bad person. Maybe he's just caregiver strain. Maybe y'all just collectively burnt out. And this pandemic has been the longest, extended spring break of all time. And it's not a fun spring break. So we're all doing our best to make it from Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, and back around to Monday again. Alicia says she was in a relationship where she gave 85%. And Alicia says that's how my relationship is. Yeah, the level is always changing. Brett, yeah, I agree. And my mom, ooh, man, my mom has this quote. I gotta call her today and talk about that, and maybe just get her thoughts on it again. But so my mom was kind of blunt, but she used to say that there's always going to be a fool in the relationship. And the older I got, I believe that, right? Like, and she's not saying that you're dumb, but she's saying that there's always gonna be somebody who is getting, a bad deal at that time, like, and then somebody else will have the upper hand. Like, it's never really 50-50, maybe 51-49, 50.5, 49.5, but it's never really 50-50. Somebody always kind of has an upper hand, but as long as like it's balancing out, kind of like a seesaw, But my mom would always say there's always got to be a fool in the relationship for it to keep going. And like anytime, from that point on, whenever I'll have like an argument with anybody I was dating, I would tell myself, all right, Kojo, sometimes like you can say something to shut down the other person, because they might say something to you that will just like piss you off. And I'm like, all right, if I just say this one thing, I'll win the argument. Like I could win the argument, like as if you're boxing and like Mike Tyson knocks out the other person with that knockout punch. Sometimes you have that verbal jab in your back pocket, and you're like, all right, if she says one more thing, I'm gonna throw it out and I'm gonna win this argument. And more than likely you want to keep that thing in your back pocket and never say what you gotta say. You don't want to say that because you probably will regret it. Try talking to somebody about DID. This guy ripped that. Yeah, DID. But DID is, I haven't seen dissociative identity disorder to be as common as is portrayed in the media, though. How do I recover from an abusive ex? Honestly, I think that if you've had an abusive relationship, sometimes you know how like you're an athlete and you get traded to one team, you have to sit on the bench for a little bit and then you get a chance to play again. I feel like that's how coming back from an abusive relationship is. You might want to just, I'm not telling you to take a year or two off from dating, but take as much time as you need to figure out like what went wrong. What did I do wrong? How can I enforce boundaries a little bit better, because I don't want to feel that thing again. Like I said in another live, there are certain things in life you only have to experience once, and you're like, all right, I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna do that again. Um, Narcissism in general, yeah, agreed. Let's have a class in emotional intelligence. Yeah, 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 Josh. Sometimes, and this is what I did not know when it comes to relationships, and I guess I guess this does deal with mental health and boundaries. I realized, right? Um, and it might actually, as I'm thinking about it, I'm psychoanalyzing myself, and I'm trying to like tie things back into maybe ADHD, but like I realized that like growing up, if I was dating somebody, right, or like I can think of a relationship where I felt like I had to give the girl everything that she wanted. I don't miss that version of myself. Not that I was a bad person, but I felt like by saying no, like I felt like no was a bad word. And I came to realize after the fact that the other person, like she wanted me to not say yes all the time. And sometimes like you feel like you want to say yes because you want to be an asshole or whatever. And I'm not telling you to be an asshole, but it's about boundaries and having like a set of rules. Like this is how we do things out here, and this is just what we do. And when you have those boundaries and you have those rules and regulations, it's like checks and balances. Like if you don't go to somebody's house after 10 p.m., that's just what you do. So if somebody is like, oh, let's hang out at 9:30, and you're like, okay, and then they're late, it gets to 10:01, you're like, oh no, like I don't hang out after 10 p.m. Like this is just what I do. People will respect you for that. Like, oh, this is I just do this. I don't like this is how I operate. People will respect you for that. At the end, Deshaun, this is recorded. All of these lives are recorded, and I love Facebook. I don't know how to organize everything on Facebook, but like I'm having fun on the platform. But I think there's a way to like go to like videos and maybe like watch these. I'm not too familiar with Facebook. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, but my YouTube channel has all these. I'll organize all these on my YouTube as well, but it should be on Facebook. But it is recorded. Everything here is recorded. Of course, it's live, so it's not edited. Leisha says your mom is 100%. Yeah, yeah, that is completely correct. And Gina says, when is uh, the good time to tell a new interest about your mental health issues? And the Berg says the pandemic changed it. Yeah, so actually, let me say on those two things for a second. The pandemic did change a lot of things when it comes to relationships, because I think it forced people to be closer, and not everybody wanted to be that close to their spouse, their partner, their person. So it made things a lot more difficult. I'm not gonna lie, a lot more difficult. And to answer Gina's question, when's a good time to tell a new interest about your mental health issue? So I I'm just not a fan of talking about that on the first date. I don't know why. I've never been a fan of going on the first date to somebody. You're, because sometimes it can be oversharing. You want to feel people out first, because sometimes people also may have narcissistic traits and they're not a narcissist, but sometimes people don't realize what they're doing, but they can also like inflict damage upon you, but they may not know that that's what they're doing. But I'm not a fan of the first date at all. The earliest I think would be the second date. This is just my I'm thinking out loud, not professional advice, but I'm not a fan of the first date because you just met somebody, you're feeling them out, you don't really know if you like them. That's the thing. That's my thing. If we meet and we're on a romantic type of journey, sometimes you don't know if you like somebody until after a while. Maybe it's after 2 months and then you get the ick and you're like, I don't like this person, like, or I don't like them like that. But you've told them so much of your trauma and to know your whole story, you feel like you might have to like stick it out a little bit longer. So that's why not the first date, maybe the second. Um, that's just my opinion. But the reason why I'm asking y'all is because sometimes I've seen people who've gone on one date and they just had that connection. They've been married 40, 50, 60 years. So there's no like one size fits all. Anybody can be right and anybody can be wrong. CJ says, I think it would be a good idea to let someone know once you decided you want them around. CJ, I like that. I really like that because sometimes you're like, I don't really know if I want this person around. And as guys, I think sometimes we know we like a lady when we're okay with her, like just breathing our, or maybe that's just me, just breathing our energy, right? Just, I mean, breathing our air and being there in our space, like that energy, like I could be here and she could be there or something. And I'm like, okay, cool. And you're okay with her being in your intimate space. You have to let someone see you. Yeah. Right. You have to let people see you. And that's where it comes to the vulnerability aspect of it. You have to, and it can be hard, especially as guys. I think as guys, sometimes we have that wall up where we don't want to like, let people see who we really are. And it might even be because you let your seventh grade crush know something and she shot you down. How to recognize narcissists so we stop dating them. So this is why it's important to be self-aware, because sometimes I feel like with a narcissist, like a narcissist would never go for a person who like is like good with boundaries. Think about it. Like a narcissist would never go for somebody who has boundaries in place. They would get frustrated. Oh dang, this person. All right, whatever. Then they'll go to somebody who's like, oh well, I guess I can do this. So boundaries is probably one of the earliest ways to see if somebody is exhibiting narcissistic tendencies. Now keep in mind, not everybody is a full-blown narcissist, and even people who have traits, of narcissism might be doing wrong by you, and they might not be aware of it. But if you have boundaries up and you feel like somebody's, it's like tug of war and they're trying to tug at you, that could be a sign that, not that they're a narcissist, but it's like, okay, something is up. Maybe this is somebody I shouldn't like divulge all my information to, right? If that person has already forced you to go against your rules and you're already like bending over backwards and you're not putting up boundaries, then you tell that person about your trauma, like, oh, this happened to me when I was younger. Then that person connects with you, and then they're taking that information, and then they're just gonna keep in their back pocket, and then they'll put bits and pieces out there, at their discretion, and then they pull you away from your family and say, oh no, your dad's a cool guy, but I don't think he wants what's best for you. I think you should spend less time with your dad, spend less time with your brother. Like, I think your family is cool, but I think we can create our own family. Pull you away from your family, isolate you, and then the mental gymnastics might start. So I think it does believe with I think it does start with boundaries. You have to believe that boundaries are important. Someone saying that was her ex. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jana. American society is narcissistic. Setting boundaries is the best way to ensure. Yeah. You have to do that because it's hard. It's even hard to have confidence without boundaries. Because sometimes, like when you're being gaslit, you don't know if you're going left or right. And being anybody can be gaslit. Like I was, talking to a lady at one point a couple years back, and I'm not even sure. I don't think I've ever given this example before on Facebook, so I'll talk about it. Andrea says, "You sure you weren't hiding in my house? Listen to me, my ex." Andrea, I know where you live. You live in Kansas, right? I'm kidding, but so this is a quick example of me being gaslit. So I was talking to this young lady, and of course I won't say any names because that's yeah, I'll never. But talking to this young lady, and she, just for background uh reasons, she's a like a NBA cheerleader or something like that, or dancer cheerleader. I'm not even sure the difference, but I was talking to her, and we went to Hooters to get food. Now, why did we go to Hooters? I don't know. Don't ask me why we went to Hooters, but we went to Hooters to get food. Now, keep in mind that Hooters was one of my favorite spots to go to eat in that city. I don't know if it's Newport News or Williamsburg, but that Hooters was my favorite spots to go eat. I knew everybody there at the Hooters, from the waitresses to the guys who worked in the kitchen. In fact, one of my patients used to work at that Hooters, and every Sunday I would throw my jersey on, and I would go to that Hooters and I would watch the football game, and I'd be clapping, this, jumping for joy. So I would go to the Hooters for the game. Of course, there's beautiful women there, but I would go for my game. If my team loses, I'm not having a good time. So I decided to go to Hooters on this beautiful day with this lady that I was talking to. And I kid you not, I was on my phone like this, just kind of like scrolling, and I was like, just scrolling, right? So I'm on my phone scrolling, and then she taps me on the shoulder and she says, "Why'd you look at that girl's ass?" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "You looked at that girl's ass." I'm like, "I was looking at my phone. I'm here looking at Twitter. I'm trying to see who the Lakers are going to trade for. Like, I'm looking at my phone." And she turned into argument it didn't end for like 3 hours. And I just kind of like, I didn't, because I'm not going to argue. But literally, as the argument progressed on and on, I started to ask myself, I'm like, damn, did I look at anybody's ass? Like, was I staring at a lady? And after a while, it turned into, because I knew I didn't look at any lady, but it went from I didn't look at any girl to did I look at a lady to which girl was I staring at? And why was I staring at her? But I never even was looking. I was looking at my phone. And somebody said that, yeah, that's a red flag. But and once again, people have their own trauma. So I wasn't even upset at her. Maybe it's a therapist in me. Of course, like I'm like, I gotta get my space and maybe you do your thing. But I wasn't necessarily upset. People have their own trauma, and things happen. But I was like, I swear, I was on Twitter. I was on Twitter. It was a commercial break. I was not looking at, and if I was caught looking at a lady, I'd be like, oh my bad. Like there's no shame in my game. But I knew that if you pull up to a restaurant somewhere with a lady, you don't look at another lady. That's like basic 101, right? And I don't know why you'd want to do that in front of somebody that you're talking to, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, if anything, I'm not telling you to be sneaky, but why would you do it in front of? That's like clearly disrespectful. So I'm going back and forth trying to like proclaim my innocence, and then after the fact, I'm like, this is gaslighting. I've been gaslit. Like this doesn't make any sense. So when you catch that, it's important to put boundaries in and say, hey, like, and like I brought it up. I'm like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this isn't that, because like I really was not looking at anybody. I'm human. I can make a mistake, but I was not doing anything. So if I had stayed in that situation and continued to talk to her, then it would have gone from that thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. So sometimes you have to tell yourself, like, yeah, this person is great. I enjoy being with this person. They're a vibe. They're a fun time. We like traveling, whatever. But at the end of the day, your self respect should always be more important than pleasing a certain person or trying to be with somebody. So I'm happy that I remember that story because I thought I was losing my mind in the middle of the Hooters. That's one of the most random places to lose your mind. Trust issues is, yeah, Alicia, I think that's what's going on. Had an ex who would check women out in front of me and said I couldn't get upset because he's a man, and that's what they do. So that's also clear cut manipulation. That's, yeah, you know. Brittany, yeah, that was a wild story, and yeah, I don't use my job against anybody. Like when I'm not like working, like I'm just watching TV. I'm just being a regular guy. Like I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling. Honestly, guys will look right. So, Benita, once again, like if you're looking at, like, you could be with somebody, like I could be with somebody, right? And I see another lady in the street, like you have to be like, "Be welcome, you nice," or maybe my lady will say, "Oh, she's nice," like it's a respect thing, but you're not supposed. I don't think you should be like staring and be like, you know. But when you didn't stare, then like when you catch yourself apologizing for things that you didn't do, that's like a sign of gaslighting. Like you didn't do it, but you're still apologizing. I don't think you should apologize for things that you did not do, whether it's to keep the peace or not. I just don't think you should do it. Oh, Amber, I like that. Cat says it's Hooters. There's booty. Yeah, Cat, you're right. We are in Hooters. Like this is the environment that we're in, and I'm not saying nothing is wrong with Hooters. And nothing is like I don't want to get into the debate of is Hooters good or bad. That's where we went to have food. I enjoy the BYOB burger at Hooters, the build your own burger with the large fries. Sometimes I'll get like the boneless wings or take home, and then they give you like a couple of beers. That's when I was drinking alcohol. So I would go in there. I'll have a good time. That was my order at Hooters. But yeah, I mean, you know, don't apologize for things that you did not do. Gina says my ex-boyfriend was constantly checking out when we were together. It was so embarrassing. Right. So once again, it's like that is embarrassing if you're constantly doing it everywhere, right? And maybe sometimes you might like sometimes just have like a blank stare and be looking somewhere, and it could be accidental. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with asking your partner, hey, I feel offended. I think you were looking at somebody. Were you? And then you can say, oh, no, I wasn't doing that. Like, hey, if you thought that's what I was doing, I apologize. I did not mean to do that if I did that. But if they harp on it, Laisha says, no more dates at Hooters. Oh, boy, that's funny. Do you think it's possible it's what she thought she saw and you I don't know. Esmeralda, I don't know. Like I'm pretty convinced. And actually, that was the second time that that situation had happened. I'm not gonna lie. So I had been accused of look, and that's weird because for me, like I'm very mindful of like when I'm in public, what I do, and this is like after I had started getting followers online. So like I'm like hyper vigilant of what I do in public, what I say. I don't know who's recording, and cancel culture is thick nowadays. It's heavy. So I think all of us as content creators, we have this healthy sense of fear of potentially losing everything, right? But you have to be very mindful of your surroundings. I look everywhere. I make sure that I'm not doing anything silly or embarrassing in public. Sometimes people come up to me and say, "Hey, I love your videos." So I'm pretty sure I was not doing that. But hey, was that the last time at Hooters? I remember going to Hooters. Maybe that that may have been my last time at Hooters. Candace says, I feel more comfortable with y'all than going to therapy. Y'all get me. Yeah, we're just chilling out here. Killed your whole vibe. Nah, I lost my appetite. Brett says no more initial days of Hooters. I agree. I don't think Hooters is the best place to no, I will say that. I don't think Hooters is the best place. Like if there's guys watching and you're looking for somewhere to take a lady, I don't think Hooters is where you should go. Maybe go to the park or something like that. But don't go to Hooters. Don't go to Hooters. I like Hooters. Ashley, I like strip clubs. As a female, they make you feel extra special. Yeah, I think and that's what I thought. Like normally, when a lady goes to a place that's like female dominated, sometimes the girls be like, "Hey, girly, I love your hair. Who did your lash extensions?" Like a lot of times, like the girls like gravitate towards each other. So I don't know. I was gaslit so hard. I was trying to remember when I cheated on my baby daddy, but I didn't. But he had me all the way twisted that our daughter wasn't his. Oh wow! But in that situation, you can get a test and see. I hope he did that. And if so, I wonder what his reaction was. I'm kind of curious to see what his reaction was. Esmeralda, no problem. So the ex and I were together for 4 years. Tons of gaslighting, and mental abuse. We finally split up over him using drugs and stealing money. Recently found out he passed away, and now I'm struggling with the guilt that I didn't help him. So Andrea, very very sorry to hear that, and you know, I hmm, I think one thing we don't talk about enough is being proud of what you could do. Like you were with him for 4 years, so like being somebody that cares about somebody, like you did your best. And I remember when Mac Miller, rest in peace, one of my favorite rappers, he passed away. He was here in LA. Like his place is like 5 minutes away from where I live currently. And after he passed away, people were blaming Ariana Grande, saying, she moved on and she was dating Pete Davidson. Why didn't you stay and help him? He was struggling with addiction. I don't think it was her responsibility to, like, of course, if she's with him, do your best to help him out. But I think people kind of put too much on her, because I'm sure she must have been dealing with a lot of guilt after, Mac passed away. So sometimes like you have to think back to the happier moments and realize that you did do something. And guilt, man, guilt doesn't make you ficky. Sometimes it can overwhelm you, paralyze you, and just leave you like in like a ball of sadness. So definitely sorry to hear that. It's tough. My girl's ear perked up so fast when she heard this relationship advice. Poor girl. CJ, a week. Minnie says, Cody, you have to start looking at the floor when you go on dates. No, I'm gonna be looking up. I'm gonna be looking straight, but I'm just not gonna go to Hooters. Um, any tips on how to set boundaries as a people pleaser? Ooh, Martha. Ooh, I like that. I like that one. Ooh, that could be its own show. I think it's important to pick up on things that you do that aren't authentic, and when you do some of those things, don't judge yourself for it, but ask yourself, was I really laugh, like, was that joke funny, or is it because I'm here at this Kevin Hart show, and maybe I get to meet him afterwards and I'm like laughing in his face, like, oh Kevin, you're so funny, because you want him to like you, right? Or like that's something that here in LA, you meet people who are celebrities and whatnot, you feel compelled to like laugh at, like if I met LeBron, right? I'm not gonna lie, if I met LeBron and LeBron said something that was like remotely funny, I'd be like, hey LeBron, yeah, because like that's LeBron. So to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's LeBron. Sometimes when you want to be accepted by somebody or something or a community, you tend to do things that you think they would like. And there's nothing wrong with picking up on that. But also allow yourself to be more of an individual. And when somebody doesn't like who you are, that feelings, let yourself sit with that feeling for a little bit. And understand that it's okay to like people don't have to like you, but it's important to pick up on some of those tendencies, because the people pleasing thing it can get pretty deep. Like it can go, there's like another level where you've gone all out to make somebody or some group of people happy, and you're not worried about yourself at all. Um, talk about dating someone borderline do's and don'ts. That should be its own segment. In fact, I'm gonna have like a whole week where we talk about borderline and how borderline is portrayed in the media. Because I think I've said it before. Like when you see borderline in the media, they automatically like have like a hypersexual lady who uses sex to get everything, and she goes from place to place. But I don't think borderline is always like that. Men can have borderline personality disorder. But what I will say about borderline personality is that uh, if you have borderline personality disorder and you have a healthy relationship with at least one person who has a good relationship with themselves, that can go really far. If you have borderline and you're close with another person who has a healthy view of themselves, like you're already like a step ahead of most people with BPD. Yeah, some good insight. Some good insight. Um, Best ones today are those who find. Yeah, I mean, sometimes dating just kind of comes. Like, I don't know how to. I don't know how to tell you to find your person. Like, it just happens. Maybe you go to the grocery store or the dog park or even online. I mean, these things just kind of happen. They just kind of happen. Um, Yeah, but and see, this is what I love about lives because like you all like y'all are in the comments hyping up somebody else, like supporting other people. And that's how I know that people aren't evil or people aren't like, like you look in the news and like that's why I don't watch the news that often. Like it's this person did that and then black people are fighting white people and Hispanics are like at the end of the day, when you come on a live like this and you see how people rally around each other, it makes me feel good. Like, there are some people who are just like good people. And like for me, a good person, like the bar is low. Just don't do nothing to hurt other people, their friends, yourself. Anything that, as long as you're not hurting nobody or, putting yourself at risk. I mean, my bar is super low. What kind of topic is this? We were talking about mental health and dating, and today's segment was more so on like the early phase of dating as it relates to mental health. How early you should tell somebody about what you're going through. If so, what to say. Candace, I appreciate you. I'm having fun with this, and today I had a weird thought while I was in the toilet. But I was sitting there in the toilet and I was just so grateful for this platform specifically for Facebook. Of course, we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, but I was very grateful for this platform here on Facebook because I remember not that I wasn't having fun when I was working in forensic psychiatry, but I did not know that you could like do something and like have fun with it. um like I thought, but like I love my job, I love the patients. If anything, the like having to like fall in line with hospital regulations, but every hospital has like their things that they have to get done and the directors have to do what they have to do. So I have no problem following the rules and whatever meetings and stuff I have to go to. I just want to be another provider at the hospital helping out my patients, so I don't mind doing that. But like the actual patient care, that's the part I loved. Like all of the extra stuff and coworker job. Like I didn't care about none of that. I just want to go help out the patient, and then like they be playing PlayStation on the unit, and I just see what they're doing and hanging out with them. But I didn't know that I could do something like this that like I enjoy. Like it takes me like zero effort to come out here and to do this. Now I have to show up on time. That's the part that takes effort. Like remembering like shit, it's 6 o'clock or it's 6:10, hop on live. But it takes like no effort to do this because like I enjoy it. So I am grateful for this platform. I'm very grateful for it. Thank you for all you do. Your videos have put me from a very deep depression. Steven, so like when I get those comments, like I don't know, like that's the greatest feeling of all time. Like in life, like you have like things that feel good, like that build your own burger at Hooters, that feels good. Getting money, that feels good to some extent. Sex, uh, what are other things that feel good? Like seeing the birth of a child. Like there's all these different dopamine highs in life, roller coasters. So certain things feel good that we all experience, but like seeing comments and the feedback and the love from y'all, that's like a different high. Like, but once again, you can't get too high on it because if somebody says, "Oh, I hate your videos," like you don't want to get too high on it. You don't want to get too low on the negative comments. But I do appreciate all the comments. I think it's fantastic. You know. And Brittany says people will think you're stalking. You're stalking if you go to the grocery store or dog park. Uh, if you go without a dog, and one day I thought about how it would be to go to the dog park without a dog. And like I'm a 6'3" black guy. So if I went to the dog park without a dog, um, they will call the cops on me. In fact, I'll call the cops on myself. I'm like, what is he doing here? He's out here following people's dogs. Like, what is he doing? He needs to go somewhere. Any tips? How some uninsured? Ooh, Vicky. It might be tough. You can go on psychology today and find like a provider who might be doing a sliding scale. I mean, I have a dream that maybe I can help to be a part of something where we help provide low cost and affordable mental health services. Maybe when I get into office one day, I don't know. Maybe I can make it impact that way. Alicia, I appreciate you. Yeah, yeah. The build your own burger. That sandwich is stupid. That sandwich is great. That sandwich is great. Janet, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Um, Audra, wow, sorry for your loss. And wow, my husband of 33 years passed away about 3, 4 months ago. How soon is too soon to try and be in another relationship? I went on my first date last week and it went great, but I don't know how dating is today. Do I call him? Do I not? Who made these dating rules? So, Audra, first of all, sorry for your loss. My husband of 33 years, so very sorry for your loss. And I think you should date when you feel ready. Like till death do us part. And he unfortunately passed away. So don't rush yourself. Whenever it feels right. But if you haven't dated in 33 years, so that means that you haven't dated since the late 80s. I don't have good news to tell you because the dating game nowadays is it's something else. The good news is you only need one, right? But between 1988 or between 1989 and 2022, a lot has changed in the dating game. With the click of a button, you could easily match with tons of people online. Uh, I, yeah, and I mean, I wasn't dating in the late. I wasn't even born, but it's the dating game has changed. The dating game has changed. Is really really changed. Harley, read some of these uh comments. Uh, yeah, dating now is yeah. What I say is if you have somebody who is remotely trying, like if you're dating somebody and you tell them things that you don't like and they're working to fix that, stick it out with them. That's what I'll say. You can find anybody to have sex with, right? Or you can find anybody to whatever. But like to find somebody to like, put your name and their name on a house. To find somebody like the real stuff, you might want to take take your time. Uh, Dating is so hard. I try. Ooh, I'm getting ideas for tomorrow's show. I might want to go with dating apps and mental health. I might like that. Uh, Let me write that. Dating apps. I like that. Hey John, for tomorrow's show, we're gonna go with the topic of dating apps and mental health, and put like in the side notes uh, to talk about like ghosting and things like that. Thank you. Yeah. Ooh, I like that one. I like that one. Yeah, dating in COVID, Mickey Ficky. It's catfishing. Oh my gosh, catfishing is real. I've seen it on both sides. I've heard all kinds of stories. Some of which I can't even mention online. But I've heard a lot of stories. Uh, Chantal, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Too many to pick from. Right. So sometimes we have this thing called the paradox of choice, and it makes it harder to make any decision when you have so many options. And of course, like we used to think that options were a good thing, and I still think it's good to have. I think it's hold up, slow down, Kojo. I think it's good to be in control, but to have too many options might make your head spin. It might make your head spin. Uh, Dating app, social media. Yeah, Brett. Oh, Mickey Ficky. Oh man, dating apps. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Uh, Taylor, single parent dating with ADHD and BPD because it's a struggle for me. Once again, when you throw in being a parent too, that's even uh, that's tough, And a good friend of mine, I know. Oh my gosh, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do. Hey, John, can you send a message to Dr. Ish Major on Instagram and send me a copy of what you're going to send him. But let's see if we can get him to be a guest on the Facebook Live. I think he'd be a great guest for this show tomorrow or maybe the day after. Thank you so much. So I actually just thought about this. I have done this before with Dr. Ish Major. You may have seen him on TV before on WeTV's. I want to say it's Marriage Boot Camp. Dr. Ish Major. He's a celebrity psychiatrist. I think it's Marriage Boot Camp. But either way, he's a relationship expert. And his rule for single parents is you shouldn't introduce anybody to your kids before 6 months. And the way he broke it down, I really liked it. I really liked the way he broke it down because not to say that you're wrong for letting somebody meet your kids at 4.5 months. I don't think you're breaking a rule, but when you like let's say you meet somebody and you're like, hey, by the way, nobody meets my kids until 6 months. It's like a boundary that you're setting, and you get to see if that person is going to try and you know finagle, push and pull. So yeah, I would love to get Dr. Ish on here. Dr. Ish, yeah, that's my guy. So it's a big Janet, Vicky. Oh wait. Uh, Dating apps are the worst for us. With dating and ADHD. Yeah, because you can literally think about it. One thing I don't like about dating apps is you reduce people to like a swipe. You know, like imagine if you could watch people swipe left or right on you. I'm happy we can't. I don't think that'd be mentally healthy, right? You took all this time to make your profile. Hey, my name is Grace. 26. I love fishing or whatever, all this stuff, whatever you put on there, and then you're watching somebody just like, don't like that. I don't like her hair. Like it's um it's something else. Vicky says she agrees with the 6 month minimum. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad rule, and I mean, don't have kids, but if I did, I like I could see myself doing that. I don't want, like you don't want. I don't know, like kids remember things, right? So you might want to take your time. Find time to date outside of your kids. Yeah, moms are busy. People around my age, they don't want kids or view them as a bastard child. Then we should. Well, people should never, refer to somebody as that. But I know sometimes people will say that. Brittany, how you proceed with dating an avoidant attachment style? Well, just by that question, I feel like you're an anxious attachment style type of person. But ooh, that's another topic. I would say you have to do the best you can. Do the best you can, but don't overextend yourself. Um, I didn't let my second husband cut the house for 4 months. Respect. I dated someone who's a friend and they were already around my son. Okay. I give it up until it comes. I'm not committing the time on the app. Yeah. Dating apps. Along Came Polly. I've not seen that movie. Is that the one with Jennifer Aniston? Along Came Polly. I think so. Polly. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. It's Jennifer Aniston. Okay, so I was right. I've never seen it. Maybe I need to watch that movie one day. Oh, Ben Stiller. Okay. Um, Taylor, I want to have a show dedicated to the attachment styles, especially the dynamic between the anxious and the avoidant. Very interesting. So you're saying that boundaries are things you tell people before it becomes an issue. Well, yeah, you should set boundaries from the get. Like, but once again, keep in mind sometimes we are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 learning about this for the first time. They didn't teach you this in school, right? In school, they just taught you, like, about algebra, and they told you to not do drugs, and they told you that, if you have sex, you're going to get the scary disease. And, like, I think school had good intentions, but, they never told people about mental health in school, and boundaries and self-respect, and all this other stuff. So, maybe I need to be like a superintendent. Um, uh, the title of my first book, You Already Won, Sarah. I appreciate that. Men's perspective. Yeah, Brett, that's a conversation that we need to have. I really think that, and it's something that men would understand more. The majority of my audience everywhere is primarily, women, but men need to have a serious conversation about, emotional intelligence, being honest upfront. Because sometimes, like, if your intentions are just to kick it, you'll find somebody to kick it with, as opposed to somebody like building their whole life around you, and like you never really plan to stick around. How do we open up to a crush? Sometimes by being goofy, like you said, that might be the best way. They might be goofy too. My book is called You Already Won. Normally I keep a copy of the book here, but I don't have it. But my book is called You Already Won. Ooh, man, I got some good topics. I got some good topics. I hope we can get Dr. Ish on here, because I would love for you all to pick his brain, Mickey Ficky. And boundaries are challenging. Boundaries are hard. And I've made a video about boundaries, but like we could dedicate a whole week to boundaries. And Miss, thank you for saying men need help too, because like I had to like just make mistakes my own and learn. And then obviously being in this, in this field, I've learned professionally, but there was no real like playbook for men. We just have to kind of make mistakes. And as I'm getting older, I've thought to myself, like, as men, without getting tangible ideas or thoughts on how to like proceed with mental health and dating and relationships, what you end up doing is you end up inadvertently hurting so many women along the way. It's like you're just dishing out trauma like a point guard. Boom, 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 boom. Saying trauma to every chick, you date. And then they take that trauma and they go to the next guy, and the cycle continues. So that's something that I think about quite a lot, in terms of like, my life, and how, the older I get, right, I become an OG to somebody. And then the OGs can talk to the young guys, and put them on game and say, hey, watch out for this, watch out for that. That's Mickey of yours. Appreciate that. Now, I'm not married. Probably will be one day. With what I'm trying to build. Uh, oh boy, let me see. Do I got this meme with Kevin? Okay, yeah. Shoot, Mickey Fakey. Oh boy. All right. Okay. So I gotta go, but Jana has a good question. Uh uh let me answer this one question here, and then get back um to this meeting after head to. Um ooh ooh Jana, I need to know, what tips can you give our 18-year-old? Oh wait, he's a guy. Okay, I got it. What tips can you give our 18-year-old going on his first date with ADHD? He's not on meds, to go smoothly, or at least smoother, like types of places to go. Oh, Mickey Ficky, I'm happy you asked me this question. So, 18-year-old male going on his first date, and he has ADHD. He's not medicated. Types of places to go. Wow. Okay. So I have ADHD myself. So what would I tell my 18-year-old self going on the first date? Um, the first thing that I would do is make sure that he has uh enough money to go on a date. Because I remember when I was that age, my friends and I, like anytime we would take a girl out, like we would either give each other like our cards or like we give each other like backup cash because we were afraid about, running out of money. So like I would make sure that he has maybe 60, 80 extra dollars in his wallet, cash. Just make sure his card doesn't get declined, because sometimes that embarrassment might really fluster him and shake him. And if he's 18, the young lady he's dating is probably around that same age too. But even at 17, 18, 19, I think women can pick up on a lack of confidence. And he might be, if it's his first date, he might be naturally nervous, but that might be his personality too. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think people really appreciate you being genuine and being yourself. I think that'll go a long way. So I would want him to be himself. Don't do things that he doesn't enjoy doing. So if he's somebody who he likes, he loves tennis or something like that, or he likes to go to the park, maybe, like, I believe first they keep it simple. Like, take the girl out to um Ruby Tuesdays or something, like a restaurant where you can talk face to face. Don't go to a movie, because movies, like, you're watching a movie and you're sitting there and then she's like to your right and you're just like yeah, what's up. No, like face to face, talking to her. So go out to eat and then probably go to the park and get to talk to her, and then um, walk for like an hour or so, get to know what she's about. So I would keep it simple, honestly. I wouldn't even spend that much money. But yeah, go out to get something to eat, go to the park. And the thing I like about that is that if you're uncomfortable after eating, you can cut the date right there. If you need to abort the mission, you can do that. But if you enjoy it, you can go on and go to the park. So that's what I would say. Just keep it simple. The goal shouldn't be to impress the other person. It should more so just be to like be who you are and be accepted for that. So I think he's gonna have a fantastic time. And I'm interested in seeing how he does in this date. I hope it goes well. And Bonita says movies are terrible for people with ADHD. Right. So with ADHD, it's hard to make it through a movie anyway. So, but movies are just a bad first date, in my opinion. Like, you're watching the movie, you're not getting to learn about the other person. Like, you should want to know about the other person. Make sure that you're not wasting your time. This, that, and the third. A boring art gallery. Ice cream, yeah, ice cream and a walk in the park. Literally, if you keep it super simple, it can be great. So that's what I would say. Yep. But CJ, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And yeah, don't go to Hooters. Watch this whole live and know why you shouldn't go to Hooters. But yeah, this has been a great live. I gotta head out to one more meeting before I'm done for the night. Okay, that's good. So I'm about to head out. But I had fun. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 6 o'clock here in California, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. My voice cracked there. But once again, thank you so much for watching this live. I appreciate y'all, and take care.